Before us is Mr. FEMI FANI Kayode. Mr. FANI Kayode, could you take a few minutes to introduce yourself to the distinguished senators?
Your Excellency, the distinguished Senate President, Your Excellency, my name is FEMI FANI Kayode. I am a lawyer by profession, but presently I am working for Mr. President as one of his special assistants. I come from a family which goes back at least 2 or 3 generations in the area of public affairs. My great-grandfather was a priest, and he was one of those that brought Christianity to my hometown, Ile-Ife. My grandfather was a lawyer and one of the first judges in this country. My father was also a lawyer and also was involved in politics and was involved with people like the Saudana great men, Sir Tafawa Balewa, and so many others, and believed all his life in building bridges in this country between the various nationalities. He also served Shehu Shagari, Alhaji Shehu Shagari, and so many others. I had an educational background which afforded me the opportunity at a very young age to go to school overseas. And I went to quite a number of schools there from the age of about 9. I went to university, the University of London. Before then I went to Harrow School, which is perhaps one of the top schools in England. From there I had the opportunity to go to London University, where I did my first degree. And from there I went to Cambridge University, where my father and my grandfather had been before me. After that I came back to this country, Nigeria, my country, and I did my law school. After the time of being at law school, I did my youth service. I worked in my father's law firm, having served in Chief Rotimi Williams' firm for some time. And after that, I began my very, very difficult walk into the political terrain at a very, very young age. I worked closely with a number of others to form the September Club, which was a group of nationalists, young people from all over the country, and which was primarily put together and motivated by Alhaji Umaru Shinkafi, who was the person that brought me into politics. I went into the NRC with him, having been national youth leader of the NNC, which was an association that quite a number of distinguished senators here were also part of, and we went into NRC. In NRC I served with the chairman of the party, Chief Tommy Kimi, for some time, but then I moved to serve the person that brought me into politics, Alhaji Umaru Shinkafi, and I worked as his special assistant and his spokesman throughout that period. It was very difficult and a very, very unpredictable terrain for me, even at a very young age. But I left law practice and I left everything because I decided to serve my country, and I decided to work for 3 years previous to being in Choice 92. I worked selflessly for that organization and I threw everything into politics. I've had my own share of challenges in life, like so many others, perhaps more profound than many others. And certainly I came out to know God far more than, in my view, than many others. And that is something that I believe I need to be proud of and to share with as many people as possible. Because when, after 3 years of throwing everything into politics, the government of the day decided to tell us all that our candidates were disqualified, to scrap all the parties, we should go back to square one, and so on and so forth, having done it before, it had a profound effect on me. A year before then, I lost my closest and dearest brother, Rotimi FANI Kayode, who I was very, very close to, and who literally tutored me and mentored me whilst I was in England and looked after me. I also went through a very difficult time. Around that same time I had a divorce, which was unpleasant, but we sailed through these things. But as a consequence of all these difficulties, I went into a period of terrible depression, and I didn't want to live anymore, and I felt that it was important for me to just forget about everything and move on, because the politics was gone, my brother was gone, everything had gone. I had never failed before in life, but this was a failure, and it was something that I couldn't bear, especially with the type of father that I had, who always insisted on the best and always insisted on success. Consequently, I fell into a very deep depression, and I went through a terrible period of challenges for about 6 months or so, as a consequence of which I was advised strongly that the only way in which I could get out of this was to find myself and find God. And that's really where my story starts. Because as a consequence of that, I went to a nation called Ghana, a beautiful nation with beautiful people. I put all my problems behind me and I said, if there is a God, which I believe there must be, then my case is not so hopeless that he will not be able to help me. And I went to Ghana to look for God and to find deliverance from the challenges that I faced in life. And I went there and I was enrolled at the Action Bible College. It's now the Dominion Bible College. And I went to a great church there under the tutorship of a great man of God called Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, who is still my spiritual father until today. And there I found God, and I went through the process of deliverance. I went through the process of knowing that it is not what you go through in life, but it is how you go through it. I went through the process of learning about where we are coming from, where we are, and where we're going in life. And I realized that for every man, no matter how bad and rotten you think you are, because I was my own worst enemy, that there is hope, providing you can tune in and link up with God. And that's what I spent the next 2 years of my life doing at the Bible College, praying 4 nights a week throughout the whole night, learning the Christian scriptures, doing nothing but that and praying to God. People prayed for me. After some time, a year or so, I started praying for people. At the end of my tenure at the Bible College, I came out with a diploma, which for me was really the most important thing in my life, because it wasn't the degrees that came before. It wasn't the secular education that mattered. My submission and my view, and I've said this I'm not just saying this here, I've said all this on television, I've said it in newspapers, it's my testimony. I believe that I only became educated when I understood the workings of God, and that God can work miracles in the life of anybody at any time. And mine became a reference point for anybody that was going through difficulties. I have not said anything here to excuse anything that may have happened in the past, just so you understand where I'm coming from. The next phase of my life, sir, having finished the Bible school, I came back to Nigeria to be a real man, because I lost my father in 1995, and at that point I needed to now carry the mantle, literally, of our family. And since that time I have never looked back, because God has been good to me. God has blessed me, and I've determined and I promised myself that I will tell as many people about the workings of God and the knowledge of God and the ability of God to deliver, to defend, and to build up somebody as possible, because that is part of my calling in life, which is why I am deeply involved in part-time Christian ministry and in preaching in churches whenever and wherever I'm invited. I also got involved in politics again, and thankfully I eventually met Mr. President, and that was a remarkable meeting and a remarkable association, because I had never met him before in my life before then. In any case, I was involved in the presidential campaign team. I was involved in helping him in 2008 to get re-elected, and after that service, he kindly gave me a job in the presidency. Within that job, and this is very important, sir, within that job, I will say this, that this has been the most difficult assignment that I've had in my life, because it was very clear from the terms of reference, my schedule of duties, that my job was to join issues with anybody that joined issues with Mr. President. My job was to be loyal, to protect the person of the President at all costs and in all situations. And I looked at it and I was asked, can I do this? And I said, I will do it because it's my job. When I have another job, I will do something else. And I did this job selflessly and in many ways at great cost. But it's something that I feel was a great privilege. In the course of doing that job, I have discovered, and this has given me tremendous anxiety. I discovered that in the course of doing my job, a lot of people had been offended. That is a fact. And I want to take this opportunity to render and tender my unreserved apology and heartfelt apology for anybody I may have offended during the course of my job. But it was my job. I had a job to do, and I was brought up to be loyal, and I was brought up to be strong and courageous by my father, and I stand on that. That is basically my story, sir, and I think that maybe I should stop here.
Before I kickstart the confirmation hearing, I would like to point out that people who are observing what is going on at the gallery is certainly not part of the chamber. And for that fact, if there